Hello, and welcome back to the Eternal Witnesses podcast, your favorite podcast for everything modern, legacy, and vintage Magic the Gathering. I'm here, as always, with the indestructible 2020 himself, Michael Mapson, and we have another special guest with us this week. We'll get to him in just a moment, keep you in suspense here. But do want to remind you all that if you have found us for the first time here, don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe, share us with your friends, steal your brother's phone, add us to his subscription. I don't care. Just get us listened to. We love you guys. You've been awesome, giving us a ton of feedback. Keep it coming. It's really been awesome here, getting us up and running here on Eternal Witnesses. And speaking of up and running, we now have a merch site as well. There will be a link in the show notes here. I ordered a hat. I'm very excited about this hat. We were talking about it right before we started recording. But so we have a hat, we have hoodies, we have shirts, we got a lot of stuff. There's like a fanny pack as well, I think, although I don't think that's the actual word for it. What do they call it?
No, it's a sling bag.
Sling bag. Way cooler than a fanny pack. So we have a lot of stuff. If you want to rep the Eternal Witnesses podcast and show your support, check out the link in the show notes. But without further ado, we have the reigning, defending, vintage North American Eternal Weekend champion with us, Max Gilmore. Hello, Max. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for coming on. And I will say before we get started, I feel like the only time you and I ever play against each other on Magic Online, it's like a win and in for a really serious event, like a showcase challenge or something. And so like, it's really nice to be interacting with you and not be like white knuckle clenching my fists right now at like the stakes that are going on. So great to have you on here.
Well, why don't you have a winning record against me, by the way?
I don't know if that's true, but it certainly doesn't feel that way.
But yeah,
maybe
we
that means
always
it's
pair
even.
at like 6-1 or 7-1 or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, shit.
It does seem to work out that way. Yeah. Never in a league when like the stakes are low. Always when we're X1 and fighting for a top 8. But anyway, why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers and listeners a little bit? Like let them know who they're talking to, you know, like how'd you get into Magic? How long have you been playing? How did you stumble into Eternal Magic? And, you know, give a little bit of background here.
Cool. Yeah. Quick background. So my name is Max Gilmore. Professionally, I'm a mechanical engineer. I design medical devices. I live in Southern California. I been married for 11 years now. I have 2 kids, like 7 and 5 right now at the time of recording. And so that's my my real life. And then as far as Magic life goes, when I graduated college, in college I played competitive StarCraft 2. And I was quite good, spent way too much time doing it, as one does when they get good at StarCraft 2. But one of the guys on my StarCraft 2 team played Magic and basically was like, hey, I'm going to go to an Innistrad pre-release. And I hadn't played Magic. I played Magic like casually as a kid, like very like, you know, the kitchen table, rubber bands holding your decks together kind of Magic. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And so I went along and joined him on this Innistrad pre-release, and I was really lucky that Innistrad is like one of the best sets ever. So it hooked me big time to get back into Magic. I drafted a ton in college, basically with the StarCraft 2 team. He roped us all into it. And then basically I moved back to California. I was born and raised after college, and played a ton of Standard at like the local the game store and various like PTQs and what have you. Played Standard, did well, built my collection, built into Modern, played a lot of Modern, had a lot of different decks, a lot of different stuff. And this was also around the time that Standard was very expensive.
Right.
You can remember like Standard decks were like in the $600, $700 range, Innistrad, RTR. And so about 6 months before it rotated, a friend of mine was like looking at my collection, which I could basically build any deck in Standard. He's like, you know, you've got a legacy deck sitting here. And he's a big legacy diehard, like big legacy player. And so I was like, really? So this was like 6 months before rotation. We went to this big, like basically like collectibles bazaar that we have in Southern California called Frankensons. And I took all these like Standard cards I had and hawked them for basically duels and forces and wastelands, and built myself Jeskai Delver because I loved playing Delver in Standard. Innistrad guy. So
yeah.
You know, it was like basically that same feeling, and I really liked specifically the interaction where you could stifle a Geist of Saint Traft Angel, leave the battlefield trigger as just another way to leverage stifle. So like that kind of that Jeskai Tempo deck got me into Legacy. And then I did well with that, and I just like slowly built out my Legacy collection into what was like olive fair blue. And then in 2020, I guess in late 2010s, I started getting into Magic Online and started with the 4-color Delver deck and just kind of built up my Magic Online collection, which is a lot easier to build and diversify than paper Legacy, as we know. And so from there, I was able to try a bunch of different decks. I kind of found myself having a big affinity for Doomsday as well. And so I ended up, buying a real Lion's Eye Diamond and stuff like that for paper after like doing well enough with Doomsday online to buy it with like Magic winnings and what have you. So that's my my quick Magic background and how I got into Legacy and how I kind of got into this fair blue plus Doomsday kind of thing that I was for a while. And now with Reanimator, that kind of occupies the same space of towing the line between fair blue and Doomsday style, just cast a black spell and win.
Yeah, you do a little bit of both of those things, right? Like big
Exactly.
haymaker, but also you can just, play the tempo game too. So yeah, kind of no surprise when I was looking at, your recent results before recording here that there was a lot of blue-black in there. So I'm sure we'll get there in a bit, but that certainly explains some of the pull for that for you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you played Jeskai Delver. I loved that deck.
It was so cool. What was your favorite part about it?
I don't know, honestly. So like when I got into Legacy, I started with Blue Red Delver, and then I transitioned to Jeskai, and I played similar decks in Modern. And I think, I loved Geist and getting to like Restoration Angel my Geist or whatever. And I think I just kind of liked that it felt like, okay, you can play like the short, like tempo, like Stifle Them Out, Days, Wasteland game, or you kind of go longer with like the Stoneforge Mystic package. So I think I liked that flexibility of like, oh, I didn't immediately win, but like the game's not over.
Exactly. Yeah. That was really the same feeling I had and why I liked it so much is because like when you're playing like the Rug Delver, very like Dimble Mongoose thing, if your opponent lands like a Knight of the Reliquary, you're basically dead. Like, I'm exaggerating, but basically the problem is that the game got out of reach really quickly when your opponent could start resolving their spells. But the Jeskai Delver deck had that angle, but also could just play this mid-range game and hang with the best of them. And it made it weaker against like hard control because it wasn't quite as fast, but against everything outside of that, it did really well.
Yeah, I feel like I missed out because I didn't play Magic during this era. I started during Revised, and like a lot of people, I quit during it was Mirrodin. So I didn't quit during Mirrodin, but I was upset after they banned my Affinity decks twice, 2 different versions of it, and then what was the set that came after that? It was Kamigawa, and that was not ideal, so I was out. And then I didn't come back until like Ixalan, so I missed that entire kind of like the middle years of Magic. Like when I came back, I didn't know what a Planeswalker was, so I had some catching up to do when I got back into the game for sure. But that does sound like a fun deck, and I always enjoy any time that you can justify registering Stifle in your deck. That's such a fun card.
It is, especially when it's not just as a mana denial card.
Yeah. It is good at that too, but yeah, when you get to do other stuff. I mean, I'll still dust off my Phyrexian Dreadnoughts once a year, and then I go through all that work and they just get removed with a prismatic ending. I'm like, okay, now I remember why I don't do this anymore, but it's still, I still get that itch at least like once a year to try to play that deck.
Yeah, I actually ended up selling my Dreadnoughts at one of the MagicCon Vegas last year because to stop tempting myself, because essentially they're so cool, but if I'm going to land an A plus B combo and resolve it all, I want it to win the game.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And I keep buying, like a knucklehead, I keep buying all of like the new cards that like make Stifle Not a better deck. And it's like not, right? Like, what was the one? Curie Emergent Intelligence or whatever that can like exile it while the sack's on the stack and all that. So yeah, I have all those cards and I like almost never play the deck. It's kind of funny, but I do love
Curie,
Stifle.
I think is an underrated card. I think Curie is like...
It is a fun one.
It's pretty close to Psychic Frog. I mean, it's an exaggeration, but it's Psychic Frog. It's like the Wayfair Psychic Frog.
I'll tell you what, I've drawn 12 cards from like, making it a 12-12 from Dreadnought and just hitting. I've drawn 12 cards. You feel unbeatable. And then I somehow lost that game and I was like, this isn't the deck for me to be playing.
Yeah.
I drew 12 cards and I lost.
right. When everything works and you still don't just win, it feels terrible. That's why you just land the one ring and then it's over for your opponent, huh?
Yeah, right. So let's talk a little bit about Eternal Weekend. So obviously you won Vintage last year. For the listeners, I know we have a lot of Legacy and Modern listeners. For folks that may not keep up on Vintage, you played the Luris deck, which is surprisingly a control deck in Vintage. For many, many years, there wasn't really a viable control deck in Vintage. And, here we are. Luris is, turns out really good in all formats. And this is kind of the last bastion for it outside of Commander. So how does it feel? Like, Eternal Weekend, North America, right around the corner in a few weeks here. I know you've been to a bunch of these, but, to come back as the reigning champion, like, does it feel any different for you? And how did it feel last year when you walked away with the trophy?
So it's funny. I've actually only been to 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
So I went in 2023 and did decently well. I played blue-black Luris in Vintage and went 7-2. And then I played, what did I play? I played 4-color Beans in Legacy that year and was so stressed about not drawing that I just made tons of misplays and did really poorly in Legacy, even though it's, my main format. And then in 2024, played Esper Luris in Vintage and ended up taking it down, which is really, really cool. And it feels incredible. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And I brought, for Legacy, at the time, I actually brought Nadu with me, Nadu midrange. And I was, for a lot of reasons, just not feeling confident in playing it. And so I bought Sneak and Show cards on site and played Sneak and Show.
Wow.
And
how did you end up in
8-3? I just missed top 32 with a loss in the last round.
Yeah, let the listeners know that we did talk that Thursday or Friday, and I did try to get Max to hang true and play the bird, but I couldn't quite pull it off.
I was in my head so bad. Yeah, Maps, and you helped me beyond. You're like, have a Yavimaya. They're like just like gifting. Like, here, this will help you. I was like, how much? Like, no, just play it. I was like,
wait, how'd that? What, he's just like made this legendary land inspire you to cast the bird? Like, how'd that conversation?
Because I was like, I can't play the deck. I don't have a Yavimaya, and Mapson's like, I have an extra Yavimaya. I'm like, no, dude, I'm panicking here. My fears aren't rational.
I love it. That's so good.
Anyway, like I was just like trying to find reasons I couldn't play it. And anyway, Madsen was a hero as per usual. But yeah, as far as like what it felt like to win Eternal Weekend, it actually felt like I like started like when I literally won, I started tearing up in like a way that I didn't expect. I felt like really emotional in a way that like wasn't just like celebratory, but like Magic tournaments create, like I think Brad Nelson talks about this a lot, but Magic tournaments create losers. Like in a 1,000 player tournament, 999 players are not going to get the result they want.
Right.
And basically that's an insane ratio. And so to actually have like won a big tournament like that, and like this like my first and largest win of that scale, just felt like very validating in a way that I didn't know that like would hit me so hard emotionally. Yeah. And so that felt really good. Like just is actually, just super. And then like later on like maybe several hours later, I was like, oh, shit, I fucking won.
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, like we were playing the trios event, me, Mapson, and our buddy Josh. And we were playing against some of your friends. I don't remember if it was as the finals were starting or if it was a top 4 win, but I know like a bunch of folks were like, what's going on with Max? Does anybody know what's going on with Max's game? Like, did Max win? And so like they were just all around us, even in like the trios event across the room. Like there was a lot of people pulling for you, man. So that must have been pretty cool to be able to take
having so many people cheer me on. Also, like honestly, that felt better than the win itself. Like again, like Magic, we know is just such a high variance game. Like any one of us can just like go defeated in Eternal Weekend, just like run 0 wins. Like we're all strong players. That does not, like that is necessary, but not sufficient to do well in the tournament. Like we could all just lose it, but like having people who are like cheering for you as a person, I think matters so much more. And as far as like, how does it feel different when I'm preparing for this year? Honestly, so I actually had I've been really in my head about it because obviously, it's hard to follow up a win with like
You can't do better. The best you can do is tie it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna come short. Like in all likelihood, I'm
like
gonna
literally best possible outcome is you tie last year's performance. So yeah, I mean, don't let that build up too much. Like you did as good as possible last year. Yeah.
And so it's a mixed blessing that I'm feeling comfortable with Legacy right now because I'm not feeling comfortable with Vintage, which is kind of funny. I'm losing more than I'm winning. A lot of the things I think are working are just not working. Then also Vintage is kind of as we've talked about, like on an individual game level, it's a kind of a pretty high variance format because you can just get vintaged or vintage someone, by which I mean, like, you draw Ancestral, you land your stuff, you snowball out of it, your opponent never has a chance, or like your opponent keeps like a busted 7-card double Bazaar hand, and like you never, like there's enough games in Vintage that like you could never lose or you could never win, that you kind of need to have things like normalize out to get a better understanding of the trends. And so yesterday I played 2 Vintage tournaments. I played the Vintage, like Magic Online Vintage Championship thing that they put on for this past week. And I played Esper Luris. I went 2-5 drop. And then I played the regular Legacy Challenge. I went 3-3 and lucked into top 16. So, it's a mixed bag. But anyway, I went 5-8 with the deck, which is not stellar. But a trend I noticed was that a lot of the like heuristics I had from like last year, this card should win me this matchup, this card should do that. The way that combo decks are built right now, that wasn't the case. Like Lavinia for Esper Luris, like Lavinia is the main reason to be playing Esper over blue black, in my opinion, because like Source of Plowshares is better than Fatal Push, but it's not like you don't splash white just to play Plow over Fatal Push.
Right.
But to have access to Lavinia and say, hey, your combo deck doesn't function is huge. But the problem I was experiencing is that a lot of the shop decks are just playing like a Talon Gates of Madara and phasing out Lavinia, then going off anyway as an uncounterable answer. Or the PO decks have all these like Flame of Enor, like deal 5 damage to it, go off. Or there's like playing lands and casting stock ups going anyway.
Or like Lavinia doesn't even do anything really against the Raker Shops deck, right? Because they're paying mana for their combo. They're just generating the guy for the mana off of the Flesh Raker. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, that's a really good point. Lavinia is at a low right now.
Yeah, so I thought Lavinia was going to do more than it did. And I think it took me playing all these matches like in a kind of a short setting to notice that trend. Because it's not like, oh, I got unlucky. My opponent just had the answer. But like, if I keep on getting unlucky, it's not, I mean, sometimes it is, you just keep on getting unlucky. But like if a coin flips 11 times onto tails, you're going to start looking at that coin. Like, so that's kind of, it got me to think about, okay, why is blue black outperforming Esper overall? Like I wanted Esper to like better have planned for the Oath matchup and what have you, because Oath is popular in paper. But again, I'm not convinced that Lavinia solves it in a way that I was hoping it would. And so that's kind of where my preparation has been at. And honestly, I've been losing more than I'm winning. My head is just like all over the place. I'm going to play some flavor of Luris. In a fair Luris, not combo Luris, because this is my like comfort zone. It's the Jeskai Delver of Vintage is actually kind of a way to think about it. It can play, it's like kind of like tempo game where you like run away with the frog or just like bowmaster people out and like wasteland them off balance because you have 5 wastelands and they are never in the game. Or you can just play this grindy game where you just slowly get card advantage over a lot of time and just grind them to dust. So it's one of those decks that, much like Jeskai Delver was in like 2012 Legacy, that you can basically play whatever role you need to play in order to best win the game at hand, which is not always the same as the matchup at hand, because matchups have like dynamics on how draws look.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I've also been having a bit of a tough time like figuring out what the heck is going on in Vintage right now. Like I also cashed last year with Esper Luris, although I didn't do nearly as well as you did. But I barely missed a promo myself. But I mean, I also love the Esper Luris deck. And for the same reasons, like I've been having a tough time. I've been playing Dimir. We're fortunate that we've got a number of different proxy-friendly vintage tournaments around here. So even though like I can play no proxy, like unless you have proxy support locally, you don't get enough for a tournament typically. And
Right.
so like we get 16 to 20 at one of the local shops here monthly, which is great. And the last 2 months, like I've been looking at a bunch of different Lurrus piles and decks and lists I've played online, and I've brought Dredge. I'm just like I don't know what Lurrus deck I want to play in this monthly. I can't seem to figure any of them out, but obviously they're winning, just not with me at the pilot, and so I'll bring Dredge, and it's worked out for me in the locals. But I'm not going to Eternal Weekend at all this year. But like I don't go to EW to not cast blue power, so not necessarily a legitimate suggestion there. But I'd just say like I certainly feel your pain. Like I think the addition of the Raker shops deck, which maybe we could talk about for a bit,
Yeah.
like that's kind of been interesting. I don't know. I think maybe my heuristics are just like way out of whack right now for vintage, because with the episode with Kelvin, we kind of like ripped on Oath a little bit. And then I don't know if there's like 2 tournaments recently where there were 2 copies of Oath and the top 8 of each of them on Magic Online just in the last couple days. So I'm like, man, up is down, left is right. Like I need to just maybe take a step back and take a peek. But I wanted to bring up this Raker Shops deck here and just see what you thought of it. Because like I look at this deck and obviously like it puts up results, it wins. It seems to be decent in the meta at the moment. But like my problem with this Raker Shops deck is that like you're not really playing the tax pieces that like Sphere Shops would play, and you don't have the blue cards for forces like Jewel Shops has, and so you're sort of like naked in that regard against the combo decks and things like that. So have you played against the Raker Shops deck? Like, do you have any thoughts on it? I know you've played Mystic Forge and Legacy, and it's a little similar. Oh, you have played this deck. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, give us the first hand here.
Yeah, I've played quite a bit of Raker Shops, kind of when it was very new. Several months ago, there was a Magic Online like creator showdown thing for vintage, and so I played Raker Shops in that. I went 5-1, which was like good for like $600 or something, so that was sweet. But so I really liked the Raker Shops deck overall in theory. The kind of being naked to combo thing is you yourself are a combo deck, so you're not like you have this aggro plan of like Patchwork Automaton beatdown and like Flesh Raker to give reach or whatever, just like shove cards down your opponent's throat till they eventually lose. But moreover, what you do have that like the other soft to combo decks like wouldn't have, like your opponent lands and attracts they find like a Force of Will and like another answer to a thing, but you have so many threats that you're just jamming threat after threat after game-winning threat after game-winning threat after game-winning threat that your opponent basically something's gonna get through, and that's often enough. And like the One Rings also, if you get a One Ring going, like the hits keep coming, right? Especially with like all the keys to untap it, so you just have infinite gas. So obviously the 2 main combos in this deck are Time Vault Polkadea Key, just to take infinite turns, but also Glaring Flesh Raker plus 2 tops is just lethal, right? So because the tops pay for themselves with the Flesh Raker triggers, so you can keep on flipping them off the top. Sensei's Top plus Mystic Forge with the Flesh Raker in play is similarly lethal. So because you can just keep on casting top from that one top from the top of the deck and pay for itself. So you've got that going. You've got the beatdown plan. You've got Tezzeret to either untap things for mana, untap creatures for blockers, go tutor a top, tutor mana, whatever you need. And then also as far as matchup profiles go, like out in fairish decks, you've got your Stonecoil Serpents, which, like, say Oath came back. We're talking about Oath. Atraxa can't block a Stonecoil Serpent. Oko can't touch a Stonecoil Serpent. Abrupt Decay can't hit a Stonecoil Serpent. Like, there's holes in these decks. And, by the way, Tezzeret can tutor a Stonecoil Serpent. Like, there's a lot of...
Oh, yeah,
like,
I can.
There's a lot of holes in various decks that this deck can just push through, and like Manifold Key can just make something unblockable. Like you get your opponent to 8, they got a huge board presence now, it's unblockable Patchwork attack. There's a lot of ways to close this, and so like the dedicated artifact combo decks like are soft to a Null Rod, or like dead to a Null Rod, I should say. Like a Null Rod is good against this deck, but like it's not lights out. especially post board when like the master cores and stuff come in, or big stone coils or what have you. And so this deck is hard to play against because you can like keep a hand. The player playing against Raker shops can like keep a hand that's like really good against the combo side, and then just like lose to creature beatdown. It can keep a hand with like a bunch of spot removal and then get one ringed out. It's really hard if you guess wrong on like the texture of what your opponent's Raker shop's hand has. You're probably dead unless you just go Dark Root Doomsday or Oracle, in which case, yeah, like this deck has a bad matchup.
Yeah, fair enough. I think a lot of decks do that don't play Force of Will in that specific situation. It's funny that you bring up the Manifold Key, though. I can't tell you how many opponents kill themselves on board, not realizing that Manifold Key gives unblockable. So please, everybody listening to this podcast right now, I'm like losing some number of percentage points here by saying this because it's unbelievable to me how often like people don't know that there's that text on that card. 3 mana, tap it, a creature's unblockable. Like, you really need to make sure that you understand there's more text on Manifold Key than just the untap piece when you're playing against this style of deck for sure, because those constructs get big fast, or patchwork automatons or whatever, and it is very easy for this deck to make them unblockable. So you do very much need to keep that in mind. That is not trinket text on the Manifold Key by any stretch.
Yeah. So like, yeah, this deck has a bad matchup in Doomsday, but like it has 3 mind break traps in the board. It's not game over. You can also
So if somebody
just,
was
like,
thinking about bringing this to Eternal Weekend, but maybe they're like a little on the fence because it's kind of a newer deck on the scene, like you think that would be a reasonable choice for somebody that likes this style of deck to bring to EW?
yeah, 100%. I think it's a totally reasonable list to bring, and deck archetype to bring as well. I think you can customize it to be exactly what you want it to be as far as the cards that you want to have access to and the matchups that you want to be more prepared for, which is nice. But yeah, I think it's 100% a reasonable deck that if I had access to workshops, I'd be considering more seriously.
Got it. Cool.
Also, yeah, I just like you, I want to cast blue power. So
I understand. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing quite like casting Ancestral and Time Walk, and even sometimes Time Twister, although I will say it's a lot better when there's your Bowmaster on the board before you do that.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Legacy.
Mhm.
I know that that's really your primary format, even though you're the reigning vintage champ here. So for both of you guys, because all 3 of us play quite a lot of Legacy, I'd like to hear both of your opinions just on like, how are we feeling about the Legacy metagame heading into Eternal Weekend? Maps, and I know you just gave your thoughts a couple weeks ago on this, but, some things are changing. Decks are popping up here and there. Stuff's always changing online. And, Max specifically, would love to get your opinion as well. How are you feeling about Legacy? I know you're a blue-black player, so you're probably feeling pretty strong heading in here. But in general, what do you feel about the health of the metagame and, about the metagame heading into EW?
Yeah, so it's a mixed bag. Like obviously, like Blue Black Reanimator is like known to be the best deck. I'll say by a little bit. I don't think it's like far and away the best deck. I think that like Nadu midrange is maybe like just about as, if there was no target on Reanimator's head, I think that Reanimator would be a bit better. With the target on Reanimator's head, I think that like could very easily justify playing Nadu midrange. You could justify playing Breakfast. You could justify playing the Jeskai Wizards deck. I think that the Karn Forge deck is terrifyingly good. I think that like if you're a deck specialist, I think that you can get percentage points off of anything you play. The tempo decks are fine. Eldrazi, the new Eldrazi deck, I played it a little bit because I was like curious about it. I think it just feels very variance heavy on like, did you get the exact right mix of lands and spells to both cast your stuff and not run out of gas before you cross the finish line? And it's not in your control anymore.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Like, I love the Eldrazi aggro decks in Modern and Legacy. I played a ton of Eldrazi before they printed Murktide Regent, and then I stopped because a 5/5 Reality Smasher can't beat a 6/6 Murktide Regent. But, now we're back with these MH3 Eldrazi cards, and I love these decks, but I hear you. Like I know how good Glaring Flesh Raker is. I've had some good results cutting it in Modern because it's just not an aggro card. Now, obviously, Flesh Raker plus Kozilek's Command is completely busted. But to your point, right? Like, as a 3 mana 2/2, if you don't have the Kozilek's Command, like what you want in an aggro deck, is it the wrong half of your hand? Like, I want to play with this a little bit more in Legacy because I love this deck. I think you can just be a lot more aggressive, and this deck can be killing on turn 3 if it was built a little bit differently. And sometimes it kills on turn 3, and that's when the deck's at its best. But like, I don't think you want to be going into like turn 7 or 8 with this deck.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like, you know, Flesh Raker, heavy hands, especially if your opponent has a piece of removal for it, like that leaves you in a real lurch.
I think Chalice of the Void is really good right now.
Yeah.
And so that's, as far as reasons to play it go, I think that leveraging Chalice is strong. That's also another reason to play Red Stompy.
Yeah.
I think Blood Moon is like fine right now, but I think Chalice is actively good. Let's see. I think for Vintage metagame, because we were talking about both metagames, Vintage right now is kind of, as from a card pool, it's relatively balanced in a self-correcting cycle. So we're like we were talking about Oath being like completely out of it, like a dead deck that's now come back and like is 25% of high profile challenge top 8s back to back, because like the blue black Luris deck was doing really well at keeping down some other stuff, and like built the blue black Luris deck to be hyper targeted at like beating down jewel shops and keeping down dredge and beating initiative, but then it can't beat Oath anymore. And then like the Luris, like the paradoxical outcome Luris decks are strong against the fair Luris decks just because the threat density is so high, and also they have enough mana to make Spell Pierce bad. But then because they're weaker on counter magic, they're like weaker against the more dedicated combo decks, or like your opponent lands an Archon of Emeria and all of a sudden you can't function. So there's a lot of like cyclical give and take in a relatively healthy card pool for Vintage right now. And I think that does mean that whether or not you've prepared for the matchups that you are going to face, which is a very luck-based thing to do, will determine your success to a lot, but also how well can you predict the metagame? Can you be at the next level beyond what people are going to react to? And like, it becomes a very, like, are you at level 0, level 1, level 2, and guessing wrong will punish you, guessing right will reward you. And those things are honestly, for me, hard to guess right. So I'm going to just play probably Dimir Luris at this point. And if I face Oath, I'll probably lose. But I mean,
and I do think that like those kind of guesses are hard to make normally anyway. It's like impossible to do for an event like Eternal Weekend, you know, because it's a paper no proxy event, and so people are going to play the deck that they have the cards for, the deck that they've played for the last 10 years, whatever it is. And so
that's why I'm afraid about Oath.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, you know, like I think it's hard enough to do on Magic Online, where you have a much better chance of getting it right with a bit of a more tighter, predictable meta with paper. I mean, yeah, that's a really difficult proposition, especially in a no proxy scenario like we're talking about.
Yeah, then popping over to the Legacy metagame, I think that, like, again, it feels somewhat matchup dependent, or like from a Reanimator side, a lot of it comes down to how bad does your opponent want to beat you. Because like, yeah, Reanimator is like popular, but even at 20% of the metagame, that means you're going to face it like what, on average once every 5 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to play, you know, a tournament and say like, hey, I'm going to be well prepared to handle the field and I'll be a slight underdog to Reanimator, like, so be it, shrug. Like, and then you end up facing Reanimator 5 times, then you're in bad shape. If you end up not facing Reanimator because other people who prepared for it beat it, then you're in fantastic shape. So from a Reanimator side, it's kind of hard for me to really pin down. I like playing this kind of like hedge version with, I'm playing like 4 Tamios, 2 Murktides, 2 Bowmasters, and 2 Brazen Borrowers as like my creature suite. And so anyway, like,
let me pull up one of your lists here. Yeah, I want to pull up one of your actual lists if it's a little bit different than
Yeah. One thing I've been doing, which is not right, is I've been just playing 3 Thoughtseize in the main to fit everything, because I can't let go of this 1 Bitter Triumph that you see. But
what's your love for Bitter Triumph?
So in the list you're pulling up right now, I finally switched around. But like,
I see him in the sideboard
this deck,
here,
like with Atraxas, sees a ton of cards. Like you can get Atraxas into play and then cantrip some and basically find a one of that you have in your deck. And so having Bitter Triumph as a discard the, you know, reanimation target from your hand as a free cost, or just like blow up any planeswalker or creature has been just like a nice get out of jail free. Like, I have this in my deck, I can look for it to get me out of X situation. And then I've also run into situations where I just draw so many thought seizes that my life total's too low to reanimate. Like, I don't know why, but when I'm playing 4 Thoughtseize, I tend to draw 3 of them. And so I was like, okay, I'll play 3 Thoughtseize and draw 2 of them. That seems great. But now I've played enough matches of it to be like, yeah, I should probably be playing 4 Thoughtseize. I can always just Thoughtseize myself to rip the like reanimation target out of my hand. I'm playing 2 Animate Deads to kind of offset some of the life loss thing. Most people are playing 1. Again, it's just a preference thing. I'm playing 18 lands to make it all fit. I turned to Wasteland, which I'm sure that you're not minding.
That's fine with me.
Exactly. So, it's just lots of like little things that any person playing Reanimator can kind of like tune the deck to beat, kind of the same way that people can choose to try to beat Reanimator with like the right amount of graveyard hate, or like a plan that just Reanimator doesn't react well to. So like the Mardu Cats deck, for instance. Then, I can try to target what I want to target. Real quick, speaking about Mardu Cats, people I think are like, how does this deck even win? Have you guys talked about this deck?
I literally asked that question, I think, on this. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
both tried it and we were both not impressed.
I played 1 league, so small sample size, but I was just like, this was miserable, not what I wanted to play.
Okay.
I played the energy deck in Modern, and so I was kind of hoping for, similar output there.
Maybe I got somewhat lucky. I played 3 leagues with it. I went 5-0, 4-1, 4-1. So like good performance. And maybe I just drew the right mix of lands and spells. But one thing I really noticed with it is like, if you've got sorry, I'm bad at creature names, but the Grand Abolisher, the new one.
Voice of Victory.
Voice of Victory, thank you. Like, if you've got a Voice of Victory in play and your opponent like lands into Traxa, you don't care, because like, what are they going to do? Get a counter spell? Like, it doesn't matter. And then you just plow their Traxa or Caracas or Traxa and keep going. Or like, you attack with everything and you like bombardment sacrifice the thing that they blocked with, and because they've taken damage off at least 7 life to animate their Atraxa plus more, they're probably dead. Like, I was just noticing that like getting through a reanimated creature with this deck was very easy.
Got it. Interesting.
So
yeah, I think my problem with it was like, I think you have to be much more skilled with Cabal Therapy than I was prepared to be when I sat down with the deck to do well with this deck. I would say that was my shortcoming for sure. The other thing that happened many times was turn 2 Amped Raptor, Cascade into like a Swords to Plowshares or a Static Prison that I didn't want to cast. And, that was obviously like, takes a lot of heat out of the start to the decks. And so, I'm sure if I played some more matches, I would be, it's not Cascade, but I would be whatever Amp Raptor does into some things that were maybe a little beneficial and not detrimental to just stay exiled. So, perhaps the leagues would go a little bit differently with some more, because you can have some very, very aggressive starts here. For me personally, if I'm playing an aggressive deck, I'm probably going to want to play the Red Eldrazi deck, but this deck does do some fun stuff for sure.
Yeah, I found with this deck, just not being able to interact with my opponents was a pretty consistent issue. Like, I fired up. Mark was talking about how bad it was, and I was like, people keep winning. Like, I keep playing against it. It can't be that bad. I was like, I'm going to prove Mark wrong. And I loaded up a league, and my first match is like against Doomsday, and I just was like, oh, this is how things work. And then I played against Reanimator, and like what you said conceptually makes sense to me, but like my opponent just had like an Archon on 2 and then forced my swords and the game ended. And that was just kind of how my league went. It was just like, okay, like maybe I can do this impressive thing by like turn 2 or 3, but my opponent can do something just as or more impressive, but they also have like force of will.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think the deck is very cool. It might be one of those things where maybe it's gaining wins off of it's being relatively new, not that common, and so people don't quite know how to play against it.
Yeah,
to a
maybe.
degree.
I mean, I'm happy to be wrong because it does show up from time to time in top 8 results and stuff. So people are obviously winning it, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm an expert after one league with it. But like I said, after playing one league, it's like if I'm playing an aggro deck, I'd rather play this or maybe like tinker with one of the like legacy initiative lists that's out there. Like I feel like either of those are probably just as good of an aggro deck that I'd rather be playing than this. That's my 2 cents anyway.
The thing
So
that I
my-
do love about this deck is it's like the easiest transition from modern to legacy.
For sure.
Because it's
Yeah.
literally just like a tier 1 modern deck. And then like, yeah, you have to buy the duels, but like they're the cheapest duels. And it's just like I do think it's a great way to transition, even if I personally am not a fan.
Yeah, if this is
that
your
seems
only way
fair.
to play Legacy, by all means play Legacy. Like people do win with this deck, despite what we're saying about it right now. At least I don't want to speak for Mapson, but like I haven't figured out how to do it.
My losses with this deck were not to Kamba, they were to Chalice.
Yeah. Also very weak to Chalice. Yeah. If they
This would be an
if they deploy
excellent
Chalice on
Lurrus
1,
deck.
Chalice on 2,
I'm
you
just
literally
saying.
can't beat it. Oh god.
Mardu
yeah.
cats that put everything has CMC 2 or less. Let's put a Lurrus in the companion zone.
Free Lurrus. Or maybe
If you could
not.
play Lurrus, I'd be so on board with this deck. I don't want to get into like bans and unbans, but I really, 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 really want them to unban Lurrus and just let us try it with the 3 mana attacks and Legacy. And if it gets banned again, it gets banned again. But just like, I don't know, let us have 3 months of trying it out. Who cares? You don't pay attention to this format anyways.
I'm like really worried about what LED does with that. I don't know.
I don't care. Nah.
I don't know.
LED already does good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, Mapson. I think you might be on your own on the free Lurrus and Legacy bandwagon there. But I do support
Definitely.
some degenerate ideas. Like I'm on board with canisters, like unban KCI in Modern, but I don't think I can. I think I draw the line at Lurrus and Legacy.
What do you say, Max?
As long as we free Zerda too, and then probably reban.
Yes.
As long as we probably
Yes.
reban both of them in like 3 months once. Like I think it would be honestly like Legacy has been in a constant state of some degree of a mess for most of its life. Like
Sure.
something is like the status quo for Legacy is that something is wrong. And it's like it's part of like the charm of the format in a way, I think. Like something is slightly too good most times. It was Miracles for a long time, Deathrite Shaman piles, various ways that Delver accrues cheap card advantage. And that there's so many different ways that just like, and then it's been Reanimator for the past couple of years and trying to knock cards out of that. And so there's like small snippets of format when it's balanced. Like right before War of the Spark came out and like Stoneblade, Blue-White Stoneblade, Back to Basic Stoneblade was like probably like the best deck. That was a very balanced format, as you can imagine. Like, I think that and it was obviously exploitable, but like, there's a lot of small snippets in time when Legacy is balanced. So I think hey, we're going to unban some this card in Legacy to see if it helps the format or not is like fine because Legacy is already somewhat broken. And if it means that a different thing is somewhat broken, that's okay too. And if it's egregiously broken, just panic reban it. Like
Correct take.
if you can unban, like we can unban Deathrite Shaman in Legacy, it would take down weaken some of the graveyard strategies. And if it like overly homogenizes the format, which I'm not convinced it will, because I don't think Deathrite decks are a thing. Like I don't think a deck playing Deathrite Shaman makes it the same as a different deck playing Deathrite Shaman. Like if Nadu plays Deathrite Shaman and Blue-Black Tempo plays Deathrite Shaman, like you don't have the same experience playing against both those decks. They feel very different, the same way that both those decks play Brainstorm, but are distinct decks. But if the format gets too homogenized, then sure, like ban it again, whatever. Like I think it's worth trying these things.
I've actually been like pretty anti-unban Deathrite, but I think over the course of the past year, like I too am coming around on like, let us have Deathrite, let it knock down Reanimator just a peg. Let it make Moon Stompy be slightly less miserable when decks have access to a good mana dork that's still going to like fall off after a couple turns with Blood Moon being in play because you're going to run out of fetch lands. Yeah. Free Deathrite.
I think there's probably like 5 or 6 cards they could unban in Legacy. Honestly, I like. There's no it's unbelievable to me that Dreadhorde Arcanist is on the Legacy ban list in 2025. It's just like absolutely unbelievable to me that that card, and Ragavan as well. And I know like the people hated getting hit by Ragavan, and like it's the ultimate feel bad when you lose to your own top card of your deck. But like it's a 2/1. It's a red creature. Like it does not deserve to be on the ban list. There's so many cards, and if you look at the history of Magic, like we've got about 25 years of legacy if you go back to when it was Type 1/5, right? And if you look at the early banned and restricted list days, they used to do very large changes to the BNR. Like there were times when there would be 5 or 6 cards that would be unbanned at a time. And now like some of those early unbans were because, like, for example, the early Type 1/5 banned list was essentially the restricted list from Type 1, which is now Vintage. So it was basically, if it was restricted in Vintage, it was banned in Legacy. And that turned out to have quite a lot of problems. And so they had to have a separate BNR for Legacy. And so there was an initial very large wave of unbans that took a bunch of cards off of that, because the only reason they were banned is they were restricted in Vintage at the time. But there were other periods of time in early Magic where there were significant changes to the ban list, and a lot of cards would come off at once, or a lot of cards would go on at once. And I think like I'm hoping that they're starting to take another look at these lists that have had 25 years worth of cards piling up on them with this sort of like no unban mindset, because I think Modern, they did an amazing job unbanning those 4 cards in Modern. And I know they like Breach had to go, and Breach was probably always the problem, but like Modern is really freaking fun right now. And a lot of it is on the back of some of these unbans opening up the format. And so I would love to see 4, 5, 6 cards come off of the Legacy ban list. And if that means like an Underworld Breach type of card from, you know what I mean, like needs to get banned in Legacy, I think I'm okay with that. But that's my thoughts on it.
How dare you call Underworld Breach a problem? I mean, like, you're right, it's true, but like, screw you.
You played that
young Mothwell.
Yeah, the guy that's played it in every format until it gets banned does not have a valid opinion on the topic.
Just because I played it in Modern, Pioneer, Legacy, Vintage, Cube.
Legacy
Was there a
is one
standard
of the
deck?
most fun I ever had in Magic, by the way.
It's such a good card.
Real quick, though, as far as the unbans go for the creatures, like I think that Bowmaster could keep Ragavan in check because it's X1. Dread Hurricanist is a better Psychic Frog. So if Psychic Frog is anywhere debatably, is currently on the ban list, and if it's anywhere close to it, Arcanist is no, like you can unban Psychic Frog like 3 times over before you can unban Dread Hurricanist.
I don't know, but I mean, Frog enables the graveyard strategies as well, right? And Arcanist needs a cantrip in the graveyard to put more cards in your hand.
It doesn't necessarily need, like, it has a 1-drop in the graveyard, like, which the deck should have. But like, also it gives you card selection and it casts it for free. And the free is the huge thing there, because like it's also mana advantage. It's not just like card advantage, like drawing a card. It's literally +1 mana every time you do it. And it's card selection among the cards in your graveyard. Like your opponent, even like if they try to stonewall you with like a 6/6, you just bolt it, attack. Now you have a bolt in your yard, clear it. Like there's so many, that card is just,
but I will say,
is deceptively good.
There is a distinct lack of Lightning Bolt in Legacy right now. I know that example isn't necessarily the only one, but you know, like hey, maybe not the worst thing in the world if Lightning Bolt comes back. But no, it's definitely very powerful. I have Frog above that one for sure. But I think like let's unban a bunch of stuff and see what happens.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think Arcanist is slightly too good. Ragavan, like we said, it's like the feelings, but you know, it's Bowmaster does a good job at
it feels bad, but we're accustomed to that now with like oops all spells in the format and stuff like that. So I think like we've been broken so badly that you can bring Ragavan back to Legacy now.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you gonna say, Mapson?
I can believe that Arcanist is a better card than Psychic Frog, but I think that the Psychic Frog decks are better decks than the Arcanist decks.
Okay,
that's fair.
Yeah, I think that is very well said.
Well, when WotC listens to this episode and unbans all of these cards and we take full credit for it, maybe we can do like a YouTube video testing some of this stuff. So there you go. Because that's 100% definitely, absolutely locked in to happen. So get your copies now.
100%. Also, if you unban all these broken creatures, like you have to make card choices on what to play, right?
Yeah.
You won't even have to ban Tamiyo anymore.
Keep your hands off my girl. I love Tamiyo. I don't like the blue-black deck, but I love Tamiyo.
She's so good.
Something I wanted to ask you guys about, I found this deck. It's kind of wild. It finished 7th in a challenge. Max, you're a Reanimator player, maps, and I know you've played all kinds of decks in the format, and this thing is like pretty freaking cool, man. I don't know if you've seen this one before, but it's Goldfish labels it as Mono Golgari
Mono
Reanimator,
Golgari.
which is hilarious. So it's effectively mono black with multicolor reanimation targets, but there's like Carpet of Flowers and Collector Roofs and Terra Sunders in the sideboard for folks
Yeah.
that are.
And
So
then
for
it sideboards into Witherbloom, Prentice, Chain of Smog combo to
yeah, so
sidestep
you've
graveyard
got
hate.
yeah, exactly. And so I just want to read these reanimate targets to our listeners that may not be watching on YouTube. So as you might expect, you've got an Atraxa, you've got an Archon, you've got a Colossal Grave Reaver. I'm going to go ahead and assume that you guys need me to read that one. So it's 6
I
black
don't.
green. You know this one by heart? Okay, I'm going to no, I'm just...
Maybe not by heart. I might have it by heart. Also, if for the first 5 people who message me that and commit to playing this card at Eternal Weekend, I will buy your copy for you. I don't care. I just want to see this card getting into
good.
play.
So it's 6 black green for a 7/6 flyer. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, you mill 3, and whenever one or more creature cards is put into your graveyard from your library, you put one of them onto the battlefield. So obviously, pretty insane, in a Reanimator deck. And then the other one is Valgavoth Terror Eater from Duskmourn. So it's 6 black, black, black. So it's 9 mana, 6 and triple black. For a 9/9 flying lifelinker, it has Ward, sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. Pretty punishing ward cost there. If a target you didn't control, if a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. And during your turn, you may play cards exiled with Valgavoth. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. So it's like a Leyline and Reanimation stapled onto a 9/9 flying lifelinker guy. And then the rest of the deck is essentially Dothy Voidwalkers, Bowmasters, Barragoyfs, an opposition agent, and then the mono black stuff you would expect: Reanimate, Thoughtseize, Exhume. There's 2 Hymn to Turoks, which I freaking love. I've got some signed Hymn to Turoks just waiting for a deck to come back to put them in, so this gives me a little hope. But it's essentially a mono black Reanimator shell beyond that, but with some really interesting reanimation targets, and then the Witherbloom Apprentice, Chain of Smog, Swerve. So for those, again, folks that might not know, Witherbloom Apprentice is a 2/2 for black-green. And it has, whenever you cast a spell or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. And then Chain of Smog is an old card that's kind of funkily written that combos with Witherbloom Apprentice. So it's 1 and a black for a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand. So in this case, you target yourself. And then the rest of the text says, that player may copy this spell and choose a new target for the copy. So essentially what you do is, once you have Witherbloom out and Chain of Smog, you Chain of Smog yourself as many times as you need to, because each copy triggers the drain from Witherbloom Apprentice, and you essentially combo kill your opponent from any amount of life. So yeah, it's a really interesting Swerve in a Golgari deck, because they'll expect Graveyard Hate in for games 2 and 3, and now all of a sudden you're a green-black combo deck, which like not a lot of people expect unless you know it's coming. This seems fun. Like, what do you guys think of this deck?
I like the pivot. So, like, you know how the blue-black Reanimator deck is essentially blue-black control or tempo or whatever you want to call it, with like Reanimator package inside of it? I think that this deck, which is what makes it good, is because like it has those 2 halves that kind of play nicely together. This deck also has 2 halves that play nicely together. You've got your mono black Stompy half, like mono black aggro half, that also plays nicely with the Reanimator cards in it. And I think something that's particularly nice about this is when you pivot out of the Reanimator plan, the Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog play really well with the mono black aggro side of this deck. Like, Witherbloom Apprentice just, drains off of casting normal spells too. It doesn't only work as a combo piece. It also has like just reach in general. And Chain of Smog also acts as a bad Hymn to Turok when you just need to like rip your opponent's hand a little bit. Like, it is pretty cool that I think that this deck can fairly seamlessly slide between these 3 plans, if you will. And I think that it's probably, obviously, with lack of deck manipulation, weak to drawing like part B of this plan and part A of this plan, and they don't line up. Like you've got your too many dark rituals and not enough things to do with them, or like you've dark ritualed out a Barrowglyph, your opponent plows it, and now you're like, uh-oh. Like,
yeah, I'd imagine you have to kind of mulligan with this deck similar to like how you would with black-red, where you kind of have to mulligan to action, where with blue-black you can keep maybe more of an interactive hand. This seems like when you have to mull a bit more aggressively with.
Yeah, especially in game 1 for sure, and then games 2, 3, you just kind of, cut dark red into couple of the targets, probably keep reanimate because things tend to die and reanimate still brings them back. Then you put in Chain of Smog, Witherbloom, and see what happens.
Cross your fingers, right?
Yeah,
I gotta
exactly.
say, very brave of this player to register 3 Exhumes in this blue-black heavy meta. Very, very brave of this gamer for that one. No fear. I guess that's why they top-8'd. Mapson, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think, well, one, I like just being able to play Dauthi Voidwalker main deck, right? And then, like, we were talking about Hymns and Chain of Smogs, and those work really well with Dauthi, because especially, like you're saying, with Reanimator, make you discard, maybe you have a Trax in hand. Still, I just want to reiterate how sweet Colossal Grave Reaver is. And can you imagine just, like, attack with Barrowglyph, your opponent already feels bad, but you have a Grave Reaver in play, and you just, like, flip a card into your graveyard and put it straight into play? Like, that's
so
sick.
Nasty.
What set is this even from? Is this
It's from a commander.
Dragonstorm. Oh, it says literally right on the screen in my browser in front of me. Tarkir Dragonstorm Commander. Okay. Yeah, I'd never seen this card before, and I saw this list as I was looking for cool decks to talk about today, and I was like, oh my god, this thing is so sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worse than just playing blue-black Reanimator, but it's definitely way cooler. And I'm a big fan of style points. They don't really get you anything, but they do get you my respect. So there's that.
Yeah, I think the best draws for this deck are probably better than blue-black Reanimator. But the average draw is slightly worse.
Yeah, and this
I can see that.
Yeah, and in game 1, this is obviously all in. This runs a similar reanimate package to what blue-black I think used to run before it became more streamlined, right? Like we used to see like 4 reanimate deads in some of the earlier lists and stuff like that. And so this is like a lot more on that like turbo fast reanimate game 1, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when it works.
Yeah, Dark Ritual is the big tell there. And honestly, if you're not playing the cantrips, like you play the speed, right? You need to have some axis that you do better than your opponent. So coming out of the gates faster is like why Oops All Spells is so, painful. So yeah, coming out of the gates fast is good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So looking at the top, kind of 15 decks in the legacy metagame here, I'm going to ask each of you guys to pick 2 decks that you would be happy to play at Eternal Weekend if somebody else were picking your decks for you, and then 2 decks that you would be miserable playing if somebody were picking your decks for you for Eternal Weekend. So for people listening, the choices are, we've got the MTG Goldfish page up here. So it's Reanimator, Stompy, Mystic Forge, Delver, Dimir Tempo, Breakfast, Oops All Spells, Eldrazi, Ocelot Pride Midrange, Sneak, Lands, Painter, Storm, Jeskai Control, and Beanstalk. So out of those 15 decks, the according to Goldfish, the top of the legacy metagame, what 2 would you be thrilled if somebody put in your deck box for Eternal Weekend, and which 2 would you be like, oh, crap, I'm in trouble if you opened up your deck box for round 1 and that's what was in there?
I think I'd be most thrilled for Reanimator or Breakfast. I'm very comfortable with both those decks. They play similar kind of tempo hybrid combo game plans that I like to leverage. It's like the Splinter Twin effect, right? I like playing those kinds of decks. I feel good with them. They're both powerful. They're both fun. As far as what I'd be feeling currently miserable with playing, like if someone put in my deck box, I don't travel across the country to play Oops All Spells against someone. Like, I don't get on a flight and take time off of work and my family and all of that to go turn 1 Balustrade Spy and then have it not work because they had the answer. Like, I think that if Oops All Spells was better, I would feel less bad about it. But like the fact that it's also not that good is, I think, the thing that would make me feel particularly miserable about playing it, because it's like when it works, my opponent feels awful. When it doesn't work, which is more of the time, I feel awful. And like neither one of those is great. And then Jeskai Control on the other end of the spectrum. Okay, go on.
I was just going to say on Oops All Spells, though, maybe you're thinking about this the wrong way. Let me reframe Oops All Spells for you. What if you could guarantee that your main event matches were only 3 minutes long so that you could also double queue for any side events that you wanted to?
That is, I would be playing against the grindiest. I'd have to just concede when my initial shot didn't work.
As soon as you try that, you get paired into like the one control player in the room immediately,
Exactly.
right?
Which again, like the other deck, I'd feel miserable playing. So Jessica Control is currently doing well. I'm going to preface it with that. It's taken on multiple challenges. It just won the 4 seasons. I guess they split top 8, but it was the highest seed in the Legacy 4 Seasons event, which is like a several hundred player event. The deck is good. Or at least like I would not be surprised to see it in the top 8 of Eternal Weekend. Like but the amount of like playing it at the speed required to not draw and the accuracy required to not lose over 15 rounds is just not something that I think I can do right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I've been pretty vocal. I don't love the control decks right now just because it feels like so many decks in the format just have a game over haymaker where even if it doesn't end the game, the turn it comes down, it's effectively over. And for a control deck that wants to go long, like you're in such a precarious position if you ever go shields down in Legacy right now. It just seems tough. But you're right, like this deck does keep putting up some decent results, including 4 seasons there. Mapson, what 2 would you love to see? What 2 would you be terrified of opening in your deck box if you sat down?
Yeah, so I think my answers are like not going to be surprising for anyone who's anyone who knows me or anyone who's really even listened to us for a couple episodes. I would be excited to open up Nadu midrange. I would be excited to open up Mystic Forge combo. I think they are 2 of the best decks in the format. I'm obviously very comfortable playing Nadu. You can give me whichever version you want with cameos, without, multiple Scythe Cat Cubs. Well, if you hate me, you could give me the breakfast version and that'd be fine too. You give me the Cradle version. That's why, like, if I've got Nadu, cards that work with it, I'm happy. I don't love the Plagon builds, but I want to love them, so I'd still actually be fine with that.
They're fun.
Yeah, I think they're misbuilt. I think there is
True.
something there, and I just don't think I've played a good list yet.
Is that a
I
real
kind of want to
card?
work on it.
Is that a real card? Because I've seen some like Flesh Raker lists pop up too with it because you can draw a million cards from having all the spawns out. But is the card actually good? Like, have you guys played
Those
with
are
it?
old ones. Oh my god, I've been looking at those lists, wondering why they're playing Plagon.
Yeah, because a lot of times you end up with like
ones.
with like 10 O1s and no cards in hand, and you feel like a knucklehead. But then you can draw 10 with the guy. But I've never played the card. I've never registered.
Yeah, I mean,
it.
Plagon's really good. Like,
it just floored cantrips.
And like it punches for 3, which is like not nothing. Like it usually does up your clock. But also just like imagine a game where you just go like turn 1 Delighted Halfling, turn 2 Plagon, draw 2 cards. Like, you actually feel pretty good there, right? Like obviously it's not as good as like a turn 2 Nadu, but like, you only have so many copies. It's also another blue card for Force the Will in a deck that's like notorious for being low on its blue count. Actually one of Nadu's biggest weaknesses. So just having another blue card that's like actually solid on its own is pretty good. And just like when you're not doing well, like it can just completely draw you back in. But the downsides are people do play Orcish Bowmasters, which they think is good against you, and I don't think it's normally good against you, but it is good against Plagon. And then people are also like playing Noble Hierarchs as a way to enable it, which further makes you weak to Bowmasters, and it's just like a bad deck or a bad card to draw. But yeah, so anyways, Nadu good.
It also
Mystic
combos
Forge.
with Nadu.
Yeah. It's also true.
Target your creatures.
And then your Nadu attacks for 4 instead of 3, because that's that's what you care about.
Even better, yeah, exactly. Double combo.
Yeah, that's what that card needed. 1 more point of power.
I agree. Mystic Forge is obviously busted. It's very good. I played it at BCDL, was very happy with it. It's just like overwhelming to play in paper, but I would do it again. It's fun, and I think it's really good. So
it's overwhelming for both sides of the field, by the way. Like, I think that's probably, I think Mystic Forge is very likely to be like the best performing deck in Eternal Weekend, like win percentage wise. I would not be surprised to see like Forge do better than any other deck.
It's really strong, but you need so much like space for your battlefield. It's like annoying.
So you need to be battle tested like me. I spent years playing Urza in Modern Thopter Swords so that I would be ready for Mystic Forge in Legacy with all the Eldrazi spawn tokens and everything. It's also, I like if I can avoid it at all, I do not use dice to represent multiple tokens. So I actually have all the Eldrazi spawns out as well with individual tokens. So it's even worse when I play the deck. Yeah, you almost
It
need
is
like a
more
second
clear.
playmat. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's why I do it.
For decks that I would be unhappy to get, man, okay, so looking at this list, I would be least happy with, I think, oh man, I really want to say oops, but I actually think the answers are the Epic Storm and the Ocelot Pride deck. I just like I would be pretty miserable like that I went to Pittsburgh just to play oops, kind of like Max was saying. Like and I get impatient during turnover time already. So if my rounds are done in 10 minutes and I have to wait for an hour, like I am really not going to be enjoying myself. But I don't think the Ocelot Pride deck is very good. And I don't have experience with Tess. And every time I play Tess, like it looks good when other people play it. It looks relatively good. But I just like can't figure it out. Like, I don't know. Like I'm just looking at like Taiga and Dark Ritual and I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like, how am I supposed to generate multiple spells cast? So yeah, Ocelot Pride and Tess would be my bottom two with a honorary mention for Oops.
Yeah. It's funny that you don't like downtime between rounds. I love downtime between rounds. Like, especially when I was playing, when Mystic Forge was more of like the Paradox Engine combo deck, sometimes you could have like a 6 or 7 minute round. And that was my favorite, man. I love that extra time. I still don't want to play Oops, but like, I love the time between rounds is not a downside for me. I think it's the best part of the event.
I want
So
my
I
round to
would
take 30 minutes.
Well, that's a
yeah,
good one. Yeah.
that's reasonable. Like I want some amount of downtime. I want to hang out with my friends, especially like get to chat with people like Max, who I see once a year, right? So it's nice to have the some amount of downtime, but there's already so much turnover time. Like and when I am not playing for too long, it kind of like I know playing too much, people get tired. I get like I feel like my mind just stops wanting to think when I am like, okay, I haven't played Magic in 60 minutes. Like, oh, I have to think again. Like, this is crazy. Like, I want my brain to like stay on.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
actually,
I need
I
to
agree with that
decompress.
fully. Yeah, I don't get tournament fatigue a lot, really. I think I try to avoid thinking as much as possible while playing, but but to that end, I think that part of it is like, I like to stay kind of dialed in, like in a particular brain space of like a focused tournament way. And like obviously, like chatting with friends and uh like hanging out is fun. And that's the main reason we're here. But I don't want to like completely mode switch, right? To like hangout mode to high stakes tournament mode to like it's whiplash, like Mapson was saying.
Interesting. So for me, I would say the two decks I would love to see are Mystic Forge combo and Eldrazi. Probably no surprise to anybody that's been listening. I would say the two that I would feel miserable being stuck with are the Epic Storm. I'm just not a very good Storm player. The last time I played Storm in Legacy, I was playing up against a Boros deck. This was years ago, and they were just dead to rights, and I tendrils with a Storm count of 9 just because I'm a knucklehead, and that was the last time I played Storm. So obviously user error there, but I just not my kind of deck, and lands also not my kind of deck, similar to why I'm not really interested in playing, a control style deck, like a traditional like counterspell style control. Also, like lands, just I like that style of control even less. So not for me.
Nah, land's great.
I know you love lands. It's a cool strategy. Like I have most of the cards, although I just sold my explorations. Yeah, just not for me, especially in a big long tournament. All right, last question, and Maps, and I already asked you this one. But if you have a different answer, feel free to add it. But Max would be really curious to know what's a tip that you would give somebody who is attending Eternal Weekend, maybe for the first time. And so, you've as you said, been to only a couple of these, so you were a first timer not that long ago. Like, what's something you wish you knew coming into your first one?
Your tournament record is not the reason, or should not be the reason you're going to this tournament. It is like, again, it's a huge tournaments, like, but really if you're going for, I would not go to this event to just play in this tournament, like hold up by myself and doing nothing, doing well. I would, if all of my friends were going to Pittsburgh in a couple weeks, I would go to Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. Like, go for the experience and to have fun and to play in the tournaments, yes, but your actual record should be gravy. Like, if you do well, great, but not like as any metric of success for your personal tournament experience, because Magic is too high variance for that to be anything to measure yourself on. And I'm saying this as much to myself as to anyone else because I struggle with this. But like, I'm saying it out loud, but I also realize how hard it is because I also do that to myself. And like we were talking about at the beginning, I'm feeling this like pressure given my performance last year. Like, and it's dumb that I'm feeling it. And like, I've actually gotten to the point where like a lot of like my wife and some of my friends are like, Max, I will only be disappointed in you if you let this affect the amount of fun you have.
Right.
And like, and that's true. Like, I shouldn't like, yeah, the only bad record for me, the only way to fail at the tournament is to let it affect my ability to have fun. And so that's my primary advice. My secondary advice is however much water you think you should drink a little more.
Yeah, that's a good one. That should maybe
Like,
be number one.
yeah, it's a mix, but like that one's pithier. So, yeah, just hydrate. Especially if you're drinking, even if you're not, just hydrate a little bit more than you will. Your brain functions so much better well hydrated than it does when you're not. And it's absurd. Like, you won't notice until you're like, you won't realize that you're just slightly dehydrated and it's why you're just like out of it and not thinking and missing things and whatever. Like,
Yep.
just drink more water.
Yep, 100%.
So-
and hey, just remember, Max, they cannot take the 2024 trophy away from you, no matter what happens in 2025. So just remember that one. What were you going to say, Mapson?
Yeah. So going back to the water thing, like I saw like a great quote a while ago, and it was like, hey, when you are doing anything involving like exercise or deep thought, you should make sure you're drinking water and think of it like a car, right? Like if you're driving around all day, you're not going to not put gas in the tank because your car is going to break down and you're going to be screwed, right? It's the same thing. You need to put water in your body to fuel your mind, fuel your body. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed.
Yep, absolutely. And Mapson, you want to rehash your tip from last episode for folks that may be listening for the first time on this one?
I mean, it was really similar to Max's first thing, right? Like it's called Magic the Gathering, and the Gathering is the important part about this weekend. Well, not this weekend, but Eternal Weekend. And that's, that's what we're going for. We're going to hang out. Most people are going to lose. We talked about that earlier today. Like there's 32. I mean, I think prizes go down to like 64 or whatever, but like once you're out of the promo, like
you're basically like covering your entry fee.
Like,
yeah.
Like it's promo or bust. And so like 32 out of like 1,000 people are going to get it. Your odds are terrible. And like, that's not just like me trying to be a downer. It's just focus on hanging out with friends, focus on giving a performance that you can be proud of. Like whatever that means to you, whether that means going even, whether it means going positive, whether it means making day 2, just like, find something that's going to make you happy and then play to the best of your ability and try to get there. But like, don't let it be crushing whatever the end result is. And if it is dragging you down, you probably have friends in the venue. Hang out. Don't drag them down with bad beat stories, but like just hang out and have fun.
Yeah, it's a good call out. And it's something I try to take to heart too, because like you hate talking about your tournament record in the middle of a tournament. And one of my favorite things is asking you what your record is in the middle of the tournament. And it does bring a lot of joy to me to see your face when I ask that question, because I know how much you hate it. And so that is a really good call out. Do the things that make you happy. I do. I have a great time at Magic tournaments. And the thing I would leave the listeners with for EW, really similar to you guys, but this is more along the lines of events. I said the same thing last episode. Play the events that you want, right? Like if you had a great time playing Vintage the first day and you're not feeling Legacy and you want to play Vintage Sides the second day, nobody's going to judge you. Like, in fact, you probably get some pats on the back, you know what I mean? And so like if I think I didn't actually look at the schedule, but I believe there's pre-modern events and other sort of funky things that, you may not get a lot of opportunities to play competitively or outside of your, like brewery Magic get together every other week or something like that. And so if there are some side events there that you really want to play in a format that you don't get to play a ton of, like if you want to play the main event, do it. But like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going there and just jamming a ton of side events, having fun and playing the formats that you want to play. Like, it's a big reason Eternal Weekend exists in the first place, is so that people can do that. So that would be my recommendation to anybody going for the first time is main events are great. If you do well, rewards are awesome. There's also a lot of really fun side events to play as well. And don't feel bad about playing those over a main event. Don't feel obligated, I guess, would be my advice.
Yeah, that's great advice. Also, if you can play the team trios, if you have a team to trio with, my understanding is those are very fun.
They are fun.
So,
Have you not done one?
So I was supposed to be part of a team trios last year, but then I got preoccupied with the vintage tournament during that time.
Yeah. I think we played against the team you were supposed to be on in round 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so it was like.
Were you supposed to team with John Ryan?
No, and I was teaming with Parker and Wonder Pro.
Okay, no,
that was a different group. Yeah, that was a different group. Yeah, but fair enough.
Then a vintage friend of ours joined in, Adam.
Yeah.
For the vintage seat.
Well, I think you have a pretty good excuse for bailing on your team. There's usually not too many good excuses for bailing on a team in a team event at the last minute, but I'm in the top 8 for the championship, I think, is one of the ones that's acceptable. So there you go. Good for you. Well, yeah, and that is a good call out. If you can play trios, it's fun. I avoided trios for a long time because I didn't want to be the one that let my team down. And the first event that I played in, one of our buddies, when 05 had the worst time ever. And I was like, this is great because now, like, no matter, I've played a ton of team events since then, because it's like, no matter how bad I do, I couldn't have done worse than this. And so now, like, it's there's always a floor here that I can, at the very worst, tie, never surpass. And so I've been in on team events since then, and it's been a really good time. And I actually kind of regret not doing them earlier. So yeah, really good call out. If you do have somebody that you can or 2 folks that you can team with to play in the trios, super fun event.
Yeah, because like we were talking about, it's the social, like the reason why we're going is the social aspect, and then the tournament is like also there. The team event is kind of both of those at once.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, Max, thank you so much for coming on with us. It was awesome to talk with you. If the listeners and viewers want to get more of you, where can they find you?
So I'm no longer on Twitter because of Twitter, but I am on Blue Sky at Maxtortion. And then on YouTube, I'm at Maxtortion MTG. And so I basically make videos there. But yeah, my social media presence is less than it has been in the past just because of where social media is at these days. And I'm just kind of I'm trying to be a little bit less online than I was.
I feel you on that one.
If you want to reach out to me with like just anything like to DM, my Discord is Maxtortion in all lowercase. Just shoot me a DM there. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me.
Yeah, and links to all of that will be in the show notes below, as well as link to our new merch store, link to our stuff, link to the MinMax blog. I don't think you guys have put anything up in a while, but...
Yeah, we haven't. Min's been touching grass, and I don't have time to write.
That's fair, but maybe people want to, like, check out some of your past.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to bring it back?
It is not canceled. It's on indefinite hiatus, if that answers.
I think that's a very tense phrase right now, indefinite hiatus. Got to be careful with that one, Max.
That's true, yeah.
Thank you so much.
You should see the jokes I make on that blog.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for coming on with us. It has been really awesome to just kind of get your insight and, just the perspective of somebody that won such a prestigious event is really a valuable thing for the folks listening to hear as they prepare. And I think a lot of folks are probably struggling with some of the same decisions that you are right now. And so to hear that, hey, even the folks right up at the top of the pile in these events are, kind of going through the same decision-making challenges that I have right now, I'm sure probably brings comfort to some people. And so, really appreciate you being on, sharing all this with us. It's been super cool. And thanks so much for coming on, buddy. Great to have you.
Thank you. Yeah. Again, yeah, I am losing more than winning, and I don't know what to play. So,
There you go. You and me and a lot of other people just like us.
Let's do it. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
That's a wrap.